and Ethereum have fallen drastically today in reaction to news that these spot Bitcoin ETF approvals aren't a certainty in the foreseeable future. So, yes, it still seems very likely that the SEC will approve these ETFs over the next month or so, but it's not an absolute certainty as investors really have thought in the past. And we we see expectations dropping from certainty to likely, and that is really affecting the market. So it's still very likely that these ETFs get approved by the SEC, but analysts are being somewhat cautious right now. We've seen this expectation somewhat adjust, which is really forcing investors to reevaluate their Ethereum and Bitcoin holdings. I think if you're a long-term investor in this space, it makes sense to kind of ride this wave out. Personally, that's what I'm doing with my own holdings. Obviously, not financial advice, but what I'll be doing in this video is I'll give you a price prediction for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Mara, Riot, HUT, MicroStrategy, CleanSpark, and Bitfarms. I'll give you basically a breakdown of what the technicals are saying, what the major support and resistance levels are for those stocks. But with that being said, let's talk about the recent news, which is causing crypto to kind of roll over today. So, while the chances are slim, a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund being rejected this month will most likely be due to the SEC wanting more time rather than a flat out rejection. So, this is a huge distinction here. So, this wouldn't be a rejection based on the merits of the ETF. It's just the SEC is somewhat backed up right now. I've seen reports that the SEC is kind of swamped in work right now with other things outside of the crypto world. So a delay seems somewhat logical. Will it happen? Obviously, no one truly knows right now. But in my opinion, even if we did see this get delayed, I would see that drop as a huge buying opportunity because we're going to see the ETFs get approved eventually. It's just a matter of when, really. So unfortunately, though, we're seeing analysts turn a little bit more pessimistic on the short-term approval of these ETFs, which is causing the downturn, as I said today. And then here's a quote. So we have gotten further than 90% because of the possibility. I don't think that we're going to see a full-out denial. So many analysts are, kind of putting this out there that we could see this get delayed. And I see an interesting quote here. This would be a rug pull of the decade. I mean, it really would be. If we saw the SEC kind of reject this, like actually reject the ETFs, that would be clearly a negative. And then Max Report analyst Marcus Thielen said the SEC commission will likely reject all Bitcoin spot ETF proposals this month. Obviously, this is just what one analyst is saying, but I think it makes sense to kind of hear the bearish side out, right? Hear the other side of the coin out. And in contrast to broader market consensus, this analyst anticipates that the SEC will decline all Bitcoin spot ETF proposals in January, despite the frequent meetings and updated S1 prospectuses between filers and the SEC in recent weeks. This analyst pointed out that in the report that there are applications still fall short of critical requirements that must be met before the SEC can approve them. This analyst, based on his perspective on the political dynamics and compliance concerns, the analysts argue that while the ETF would help enable crypto to take off in the US, the SEC chair still sees the industry as needing more stringent compliance. SEC Chair Gensler is not embracing crypto in the US and might even be a very long shot to expect that he would vote to approve a Bitcoin spot ETF. Thielen wrote, this might be fulfilled by Q2 of 2024, but we expect the SEC to reject all proposals in January. So once again here, I think reject is not really the right word that they're using because they're even saying here this could be pushed to the next quarter. So it's really a delay that these analysts are calling for. So I just want to hammer home that distinction. This is a delay being reported. It's not a rejection. Obviously, nothing has truly happened yet. But Chair Gensler has really been pretty negative on crypto, I'm sure, as you know. And here's a quote from him. There's been too much fraud and bad actors in the crypto field. And then he also says 2024 would be a great time to fire Chair Gensler and pass the SEC Stabilization Act, which would hold the SEC accountable for its corruption and the end of the accredited investor rule that protects deal flow for the donor class. So this is more reports basically saying that Gensler is anti-crypto, as he said. And then Davidson introduced the SEC Stabilization Act earlier in June to fire Gensler as the chair of the SEC. He previously explained that the bill would remove the role of the chairman, noting it would preserve the current commission, but it would add a sixth commissioner, so there would be no more than 3 from any one political party. And then, so this is basically calls from Congress, really, to kind of ban CBDC, the central bank digital currency, which, according to lawmakers, poses an existential threat to Western civilization. Sound money serves as a stable store of value and efficient means of exchange. CBDC really would cause corruption of money into a dystopian tool for coercion and control. This needs to be banned. I would agree that kind of broad control from the central bank does worry me, and Republicans from Ohio and Minnesota would agree with that sentiment. So this is a report from Congress here, basically trying to ban CBDC and really try to fire Chair Gensler. And this kind of just underpins that there's still a bunch of uncertainty right now in terms of the regulatory environment for cryptocurrency. But with that being said, let's give a price prediction for Bitcoin. Let's give a price prediction for Ethereum, and I'll do that for crypto correlated stocks. So as I said, Bitcoin has jumped around over 9% today from the highs to the lows, but it's good to see that we're still holding this major level of support at around 42,000. So this is where shares had topped out in January of 2021. It's also where we saw some bottoming in 2021 as well. So this is a major level of consolidation in the past. We saw shares can actually bottom out here in late December as well. Therefore, I believe this $42,000 level will likely hold for Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin holds this level, you could call it, I'll delete these, not really straight. You could say that we could really be on our way to all-time highs once again from a chart standpoint. So could we get back up to about 66,000 or excuse me, 65K, which is roughly where Bitcoin topped out in April of 2021. It's roughly where we topped out in November of 2021. Yes, I do see it as somewhat logical that we could see a move from where we are right now to 65,000, which is really the next major level of resistance. Obviously, we had the 50-day moving average cross above the 200-day moving average on October 23rd, which is known as a golden cross. We are above all daily moving averages, which is a sign of bullish momentum. Therefore, I believe Bitcoin likely continues higher up to about 65K over the coming months. So that's kind of what I see for Bitcoin. Could Bitcoin fall if markets fall and we see interest rates climb a ton? Absolutely. But from a pure technical standpoint, it looks like the clear move is heading higher. And then, even more volatile than Bitcoin today was Ethereum. So Ethereum dropped, or I shouldn't say drop, it jumped around 21% today. In fact, we had a drop of about 16%, and we saw Ethereum at $1,800 today. And this $1,800 level is actually where the 200-day moving average currently sits. So we actually really just bounced off that 200-day moving average. So that's good to see that we're kind of holding up there from a technical standpoint. Also, bullish momentum here. We had the 50-day moving average cross above the 200-day moving average on November 21st, which is known as a golden cross and implies bullish momentum. But we are back now above all daily moving averages for Ethereum, which is very good. And then I do think we will continue to hold this $2,000 support level for Ethereum. This is where shares bottomed out on December 11th. It's also where shares had topped out in July and in May. Past resistance acts as new support. Therefore, I believe this $2,000 level will continue to hold for Ethereum over the coming months to weeks. So where is Ethereum going from here? Well, let's take a look at the chart. So I would say the next major level of resistance is at around 3,500, which is where the cryptocurrency had topped out in April of 2022. So I think we'll probably move up to 3,200 for Ethereum. over the coming weeks to months for this stock. Obviously, similar caveat with Bitcoin. If we saw a bunch of rejections and actually a bunch of crypto ETF rejections and we see interest rates continue to rise, we could see crypto turn around. But from a pure technical standpoint, it looks as if Ethereum will continue higher, at least up to 3,500 for this cryptocurrency. And then for Mara here, so Mara had rejected this $31 resistance level, and this is actually kind of logical and makes sense. I see this pullback in Mara as really a pullback within a larger uptrend. So this $31 level is where Mara had topped out in late March of 2022, where Mara had topped out in February and in January of 2022. So major level of resistance in the past. Not shocking that we rejected this level, but now we're coming down to support at around $20. So I think we'll bounce off this $20 support level, as this is where shares had topped out in August of 2022. It's also where shares had topped out in July of 2023. Past resistance acts as new support. Therefore, I believe this level holds at around $19, and we see the stock move higher over the coming weeks to months. Sorry, my camera's off right now. I don't know why that's happening. Some issue with my recording software. But so for RIOT, similar story to Mara here. So RIOT is coming down to support at around $14, which is where shares actually bottomed out in today's session. It's also where shares had bottomed out in mid-December. It's also where shares had topped out in April. As I've said, past resistance acts as new support. I believe this this $14 level will hold for RIOT, and we'll see it move higher up to resistance at around $20. I say we'll see a move to $20, as this is where shares had topped out in July of this year. I see it as likely that we top out around this $20 level once again over the coming weeks to months for this outperforming stock. And once again here, a bullish signal of momentum was put in for this stock. We had the 50-day moving average cross above the 200-day moving average on December 21st, which is known as a golden cross and implies bullish momentum. So we have signals of bullish momentum. We just held a major level of support. I believe the support level holds, and we see a move higher up to $20 over the coming weeks to months for RIOT. And then Hut 8 mining here. So Hut 8 mining came down to test the 200-day moving average today and moved higher. It looks like we'll close above support at around $12.50. This $12.50 level is where shares had topped out in early December, in early November, and in late October. Past resistance acts as new support. Therefore, I believe this $12.50 level acts as new support for Hut 8 mining, and we see somewhat of a move higher over the coming weeks. Also, we can see that this level acted as resistance in February of 2023, in October of last year, and September of last year. So major level of past resistance should act as new support for this stock, and we could see a move higher over the coming weeks for Hut 8 mining. And then MicroStrategy here. So we had this major report that we're having major insider selling. So unfortunately, that is kind of acting as a negative for the stock today. Obviously, pretty much all cryptocurrency stocks are down today. But for MicroStrategy specifically, I think what the former CEO does really does affect this company, and the fact that he's selling $200 million worth of shares, I see that as an issue. And I think we'll likely see this stock continue to fall down to support at around $500. But then I think we'll see this support level at around $500 hold, and we'll see a larger move higher for MicroStrategy over the coming weeks to months. And then CleanSpark here. So CleanSpark had rejected resistance at around $14, which is where the stock had topped out last week, and it's where the stock had topped out in March of 2022. So that was kind of the last major level of resistance. I think this stock continues to fall, unfortunately, though. I think we fall back down to support at around $8. And then we see this $8 level hold, and we see a larger move higher, coming back up to test the prior highs at around $14. So that's what the technicals are telling me for CleanSpark. Once again, bullish momentum here. We're above all daily moving averages, and we saw the 50-day moving average cross above the 200-day moving average on December 1st, which is a golden cross and is known as a signal of bullish momentum. And then Bitfarms here. So Bitfarms unfortunately fell below this support level at $2.80, but has recovered recently. Unfortunately, though, it's kind of a tough one to call just because it looks like we may or may not hold this level today. I really see two scenarios playing out for Bitfarms here, and I don't mean to take that as kind of an out for not giving a clear price prediction, but I only say it just because I'm not very confident in either direction for Bitfarms right now. And I'd rather wait to kind of wait for a confirmation before I kind of chase this one. So I really see two scenarios playing out. The first would be a move down to support at around $2.15, which is where shares had topped out in July. It's where shares had topped out in August. Past resistance acts as new support. So I do believe this $2.15 level would hold, and we could see a move higher up to about $2.80. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is if we hold this support level at $2.80, which is where shares had bottomed in February and in April of 2022 and in 2021. So if we hold this level, I think we could see a larger move higher for Bitfarms up to a resistance at around $4.20, which is where we saw shares roughly top out in February and March of 2022. Therefore, I see it as logical that we could see, if we see this 280 level hold, we could see a move up to about $4.17. But to be frank, I see kind of the highest confidence. Like if I had to choose one of these scenarios, I would choose that the stock likely falls from this support level and we see a move down to $2.15, and then we get that larger move higher up to $2.80. So the drop down to $2.15 seems more likely and logical for Bitfarms. Obviously, anything's possible, and we could see this support level hold. But that's just kind of my personal opinion. All of these opinions are really just my personal opinion, never financial advice on this channel. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you're looking to get, a free portfolio review, a free coaching session, sign up. In the description below, you can leave your name, your email, your phone number, and I'll reach out and we can schedule some time to have a conversation. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you here next time.